Are you paying attention to the round count? Are you getting, pun intended, the best bang for your buck? Or are you just going to engage in ballistic masturbation?
Hey guys, welcome to Whiskey, Lead, and Steel. Feelings Hurt While You Wait, the official podcast of Aggressive Defensive Solutions. Hey, today we're going to talk about round count for training. I'm Lee Curling, my co-host Rick Sutton. And so Rick, we talk about round counts. You got some specific terminology you like to use with that. So you want to kick us off?
Sure. So when you start looking at round count for your training, as you lay your training out and you decide what you're going to do, are you paying attention to the round count? Are you getting, pun intended, the best bang for your buck? Or are you just going to engage in ballistic masturbation?
I don't know if I can add a groan in to that, but I'm not sure. The pun.
Oh, well,
that was very punny.
Well, I am a dad.
There is that.
Fucking dad jokes, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, a dad joke right there.
When does a pun become a dad joke?
When?
Once it's apparent.
Oh, God.
Look at that shit. So anyway, so as I'm laying out training, as I'm designing training, right, I look at what it is that we're going to do. So I look at the end state first, and then I log in back from that. I log back from that. I go, okay, what are the skill sets that we want to work and how we get there? I personally like to work on like either a 3 or a 5 iteration program of something.
Okay.
And the reason for that is the first time that you do it, you get it right. That's luck.
Mm-hmm.
The second time that you do it and you get it right, well, that's coincidence. And the third time or subsequent times to that, that shows that the student or the client really does understand it, and they're demonstrating proficiency and they're demonstrating comprehension of what it is that you're doing. Mm-hmm. But as you break things down, and part of it is because I don't want to exhaust this student, and the other part, quite honestly, this day and age, it's not like it was back during the Cold War when Ronald Reagan was writing checks and we had all the ammo we could ever want, right? If you're taking a class, if you're specifically taking a shooting class, and you're buying the ammo, right? If you laid out $900 for 17 hours worth of training over a day and a half, and then you got to shuck out another 2,000 rounds for ammo, $2,000 worth of ammo, are you really going to get what's getting out of that? So as I'm laying out the planning stage of a training, I go, all right, what are the skill sets, and what are the things that we want to get out of this training? Once we've identified that, then we start breaking it down into smaller increments. Okay, what are the specific drills that are going to build us toward what we want to go? Everything working, we work off of the crawl, walk, run process, right? So, is my student going to get more out of draw and fire 2 rounds 10 times or 5 times or whatever? Or should they draw their gun and dump half a mag? Right? Well, if they draw their gun and they dump half a mag, they're going to get tired.
Right.
Once they get tired, especially the adult learner, they stop learning. If they're not learning, they're wasting their money, they're wasting my time. Now, there are times when there are mag dump drills.
Right.
So there's a specific drill that we do with the M4 and with the handguns, and it's designed to show you how important good body position is, right? So you lean into the gun, and the best way to do that is to run a mag as hard and as fast as you can. But that's not what you need to do every single time. And if you do, you physically degrade what's going on, and then you run out of money.
Well, I think that goes back to what are you working on?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you're working on certain skills in isolation, you talk about the draw.
Yeah.
Right? If it's the draw, if I am drawing and presenting, that's a skill. How many rounds do I need to fire for that skill? You're right. You fire 2 rounds. First round, follow up.
Yeah.
Right. If you are trying to work on your body position and you're getting behind a gun, that becomes a little different. Am I managing the recoil well? And you're absolutely right. That is the several rounds with a short reset between those, right? I'm learning about managing, but it's that individual skill versus a complete set of skills. Right?
Yeah.
Right. That's
the micro versus the macro.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And now one of the things that I've noticed from talking to people, some folks who've taken classes from us, excuse me, and have taken classes from other folks, and they come out and they go, "Hey, I'm signing up for this class with you, and it's 4 or 6 hours, and it's a 400 round count." You go, "Yeah," and they go, "Well, I took a class last month from somebody else, and we were out there for the day, and they told me to bring 1,000 rounds." And how is it? Why is it that your round count is not as high as their round count, right? Because that like we've talked in other things, you run into, well, this wasn't as expensive, so was it worthwhile?
Was it
right? Because it doesn't cost a lot, is the quality there? And then so I end up explaining to them, I go, okay, well, so not for throwing rocks at people, but so you took this class last month and you went out and you shot 1,000 rounds over the course of a day. And they go, yeah. I go, okay. Well, what were the skill sets that you worked on? Well, we were shooting. Okay, well, but what did you learn? Did you learn how to manage a barricade correctly? Did you learn how to optimize your draw? Did you learn how to do tactical reloads and emergency reloads? Did you learn the difference between cover and concealment? Did you? And they were like, well, I don't know. I know we shot a lot.
Right.
I go, okay, well, at the end of the day, were you shooting any better than you were at the beginning of the day? Or had you just gotten the shit kicked out of you, you were just beat down and tired, and you were just pressing the trigger to meet the drill? And, the light bulb came on, and they were like, yeah. I go, well, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to just beat you down and burn up your money. I want you to come out here, and every time you press the trigger, I want you to get the best and the most out of it that you can. And
you almost said bang for buck.
I almost did.
You almost did. I saw that.
Well, it's a natural flow.
It is a natural flow. Yeah, it's when you mentioned, are you shooting better at the end of the day than the beginning of the day? The answer is almost always going to be, of course, yes, because right, you begin to get in that groove and everything, even if you are just to pure exhaustion. The question is, did anything sink in?
I don't know.
Is it?
I'm going to have to politely disagree with that. I have been on ranges, not so much with the police department, but absolutely with the military. Early on in my career, because later on in my career, I was the guy who got to make these decisions. And early on in the career, somebody would go, if we don't take this ammo and shoot this ammo up, we will not get ammo next year for training. So we're going to take 4 crews of Amtrackers, and we're going to shoot 70,000 rounds of 50 cal today.
Okay. Yeah. So yes, absolutely. Right. I kind of go where I go into that is that once you've warmed up.
Yeah.
You're right. So
well, I think following that, they shot good in the middle of the day. By the time they broke for lunch, they were probably shooting better than they were when they started. And they were probably shooting a little better when they got back from lunch. But as the sun was starting to set, and they were being dehydrated, and they were on their 99th magazine.
And that's where in the back of their mind, they're like, man, I've just been at this all day, and I'm exhausted, and wow. But
I'm a badass. I got to put my hat on backwards now.
But absolutely no, I agree with that. But there's no transferable skills. There's nothing that is or long-term skills, right? It's just I've warmed up. Look at me. Yeah, I got better. I was missing that dot in the morning. Midday, I'm hitting the dot. I've done better. But you're just firing so many rounds. You hit the dot. But next week when you come out, you should be hitting the dot in the morning.
Yeah.
First thing.
Yeah.
And they go out, and the next time they take a class, they're missing the dot, and by midday you're hitting the dot. Yeah. And and that's just I'm warmed up.
Yeah.
That's really kind of where I was going.
Yeah.
But I've been there.
And that makes sense.
Okay, before we went down to Iraq, we had more Mark 19 rounds than to the point that I had gunners going, I don't want to shoot anymore. I bring the cooks over. Like, cooks, everybody gets to shoot, right? Everybody gets to shoot. So, right?
Because jarheads are jarheads, and we can't help ourselves. So the upgun weapon station on the LVBT 7A1, the Amtracs that we were operated, you had a Modus and you had a Mark 19. And I only bring this up because it's relevant because you were talking about Mark 19s and the fucking squirrel. So we got bored as shit and we were like, well, how hard and how fast can you run a Mark 19? So the ammo cradle that we had, it would only take 2 cans of ammo, right? Because of how it was designed. But the Mark 19 actually sat on the outside of the turret, which is fucking stupid design. Because if you ever had to clear it, you had to climb out in the middle of the gunfight and open it. But you could, and we did this. So we figured out we're at AP Hill. No, we were at Pickett. I'm sorry, we were at Pickett. So one of the many times we caught Pickett on fire. So we found whatever we were going to shoot at Pickett, and we dialed the gun in. And then, because the master sergeants weren't there, they were off doing some shit. So they left a bunch of sergeants and corporals in charge, which is rarely a good thing to do. So I think we linked, I want to say 9 cans. We just stacked them side by side on top of the track and just linked them. Just to see if we could get through 9 cans. Yeah.
Did you?
We did. We did. It's the only time I've ever seen a Mark 19 barrel get so hot you couldn't touch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were like, do you think we can melt this? We're like, well, fucking let's give it a shot.
Well, listen, I'm not surprised you got through them because the Mark 19 generally didn't get heated up, but generally you can't fire that many.
You can't typically fire more than 96 rounds.
Right?
Yeah,
exactly. Right. I mean,
that was
the big
good
can,
shit.
right? Turn the cradle to the side, put the big can in. So.
Yeah.
9 cans.
9 cans. That was good shit. That was a good day.
There's somebody watching this going, I can't believe they did that. And then probably most people going, I don't really understand this.
Yeah.
They find it.
So
funny. They find it
for
funny.
those of you who don't know what this is. So a Mark 19 is what you get when you tell a 7-year-old boy to create a weapon. It is a fully automatic, belt-fed grenade launcher. It's a machine gun that shoots grenades, which in and of itself
is pretty cool.
Fucking awesome. If I could get like a magazine-fed, shoulder-fired version of that, that'd be the shit. That was the problem with the 203s. You only got 1 round at a time.
Only 1 round, right.
But if you could get like an Armalite or Scar or any of you other people out there, I'm now, or any of you Kalashnikov companies, I'm now challenging you to come out with a magazine-fed, shoulder-fired, semi or fully automatic grenade launcher.
Because that'd be cool.
And if you build one, we'll test it. It'll be fucking badass.
Okay, so, we're supposed to be talking about round count for training.
Nine boxes of Mark 19 is ballistic masturbation. Trust me.
So I think is a really, really good, analogy for when you cross the line is when you link 9 boxes of Mark 19 together, as to the fact that there's zero training value to that. But yeah, so I mean, is there a specific number of rounds? No. Because I'm going to say, I think...
Well, because it's... what do I always say?
Well,
it's mission specific.
It's mission specific. What are you training on? What's the skill sets you're training on? And I think you had a really good... I think you had a really good way of summing that up is plan your training. Right? And I think I asked that on our Facebook page, a few months back. It's like, do you plan or do you just go out there and start shooting?
Yeah.
Right? And, plan for some skill sets you want to do. And it really, well, backwards planning in the military is generally considered, talking about timelines. It is kind of the same thing. What's my end goal I want to get? I want to train on these 3 things. Okay, what drills do I need to do that? And how do I run those drills? And then, figuring out your round count from there. If I want a few extra, why not? But at the same time, we're not getting $9 boxes of 9mm anymore. I mean, I remember those days where it was like, I've blown through all my ammo, and you go back to the counter and you plunk down $10 and you get another box of ammo.
Yeah.
We went on an interesting aside there, but
the first sergeant in you wants to fucking hit me, doesn't it? What is wrong with you?
What is wrong with you? Yeah, that's funny, but I could remember a time when we heated up an M60 barrel to the point that it was melted.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a statute of limitation for things in the military, but we melted a barrel on an M60 and
they don't have that anymore. They left that at Kandahar.
They literally bent a barrel because similar things. And I have absolutely no idea how many rounds were linked together. I can't remember that, but it was.
We got to get through this so we can go home.
And that was it, right? It was that. Now, and we're talking, obviously, when we're talking about the military and burning off ammo, which was ludicrous. Thankfully, these days, that whole problem went away.
Yeah.
If you don't need that ammo, that ammo started to roll over. Yeah. I mean, that's even before I retired. That was that had rolled into the. You can bank ammo into the next year, right? My mission doesn't support needing this number of rounds, right? My training mission doesn't support that. I want to bank it in the next year. But I remember those days. Yeah. Of course, our civilian training is a whole different idea there. But the training days where you run somebody to the point they're just purely ragged. It goes in. We've had this discussion before. You point that you diminishing returns.
They're not getting anything out of it. Yeah. Now that said, it was not uncommon when I was teaching down at Blackwater to have military guys. Friday afternoon would roll around and we'd run a week-long class, and these guys would get all these drills in. And of course, this was before folks were deploying and folks were being involved in sustained gunfights. So we would say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We call it the $1 Million Minute.
Right.
So full loadout, multiple positions of cover and concealment. And so everybody would load up, everybody would get behind a position of cover and concealment and say, okay, we're going to rotate through this direction. And then on the command of rotate, you would rotate, right? So then you would say, but while you're here, you're engaging all the steel down range. And high tempo, high intellectual aspect of working the barricade, working cover and concealment, engaging targets, changing angle, and then finding another spot, moving to a new spot, and then re-engaging. And doing that until you run out a standard carry load. That has some value, and the only way you can get that, it's like learning to shoot an M4 fully automatic. The only way you can get good at shooting an M4 fully automatic is to shoot it fully automatic.
Right.
A lot, right? So there is some of that, and that's not quite the same thing as where we're really going with this, which is, look, just because you're taking a class and they want to shoot 1,000 rounds over a day, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get what it is that you want, especially if it's a handgun. It's a defensive handgun class, and we're going to shoot 1,000 rounds in an 8-hour day. If I were the guy paying for that, I would reassess who it is that I was talking to and how it is that I was going about my training. And I think that's how we ended up with this as a subject. We went a little far afield.
We went a little far afield.
But it was some interesting anecdotal information.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, any alibis?
Yeah.
Save rounds?
Just think about what you're getting your training for and where you're getting it from and whether or not it's meeting your requirements. And more does not always mean better.
All right, folks. Thanks for listening. Hopefully we didn't hurt your feelings too much this week. And we'll talk to you next time.
Be safe. It's a defensive handgun class, and we're going to shoot 1,000 rounds in an 8-hour day. I would, if I were the guy paying for that, I would reassess who it is that I was talking to.